Okay, so I'm going to go over the first two from the homework on identifying transformations. It looks like this and that. And so you guys don't have to do number 8 or any of number 13 because those are the greatest integer functions and we didn't cover those. But you do have to do all the rest for your homework. So we'll go over number 1, number 2, and then we'll go over 11 together. And hopefully the rest you'll be able to kind of figure out. Maybe it'll be a little bit of a challenge, but it should be all said. And if you have any questions, as always, you can email me, and I'll be around this weekend for potential help with any classes. So in number 1, what it's trying to ask me to do is if I can identify the parent function and also the transformations that are happening. So in number 1, the function that it's given is f of x equals x cubed minus 4. So my parent function in this is fairly obviously written, and it's x cubed, so my parent function is y equals x cubed. This is the first part of the answer, parent equals y equals x cubed. And then my transformation is this negative 4 on the second part of it. So I'm moving this parent function 4 down. So in this transformations, I can say that I'm going down 4. So these would be my 2 answers for number 1. Y equals x cubed, and I'm moving or I'm transforming this function, parent function, down 4. So that would be how I'd write that. In number 2, see if I turn the lights off, if it gets a little bit better. Yeah, you can see that a little better. In number 2, I have f of x equals 2 times the square root of negative x minus 1 in parentheses. This is a little bit more challenging because it's involving not just one transformation, but 1, 2, 3 transformations. So let's start off with what the parent function is. My parent function here is y equals the square root of x. So that's my parent function. So now I'm trying to figure out what are the transformations that I'm doing to this y equals x. So the first thing that I'm doing is that I'm vertically stretching it by 2. So number 1 is a vertical stretch by a factor of 2. And what this means is that I'm taking it and I'm like stretching it up. So I'm like pulling it up and it's making it skinnier. So it's taking this function and it's making it closer to the y equals 0 line, or my y-axis. So it's taking it and it's moving it into a skinnier location. With a singular line, it's making it a steeper slope. So that's how I would say that is a vertical stretch by 2, a factor of 2. So that's my first transformation. My second is that I'm reflecting it across the y-axis. So I'm reflecting across the y-axis. And so that's what this negative x minus 1 is symbolizing. So if I take this and I put a negative number inside in regard to the x, or it's relating to the x, what that's telling me is I'm taking this function and I'm flipping it across the y-axis. So my parent function would look something like that. I am increasing, or I have a vertical stretch of 2, so that's what it would become. And I'm also reflecting it across the y. So now I have something that looks like that. And my last transformation has to do with this x minus 1. And so we ended class and we said that if we have something in parentheses and it's being subtracted by 1, I'm moving to the right by 1. So this I'd be taking the whole thing and I'd be moving it 1 to the right. So it would look something like this purple line here. And so my last transformation is move right 1. So from my parent function in number 2, I have 3 transformations. I have stretching vertically by a factor of 2 or making it steeper by a factor of 2. I have a reflection over the y-axis because I'm making my x negative. So if I'm making my x negative, I'm reflecting it over the y-axis. And I'm also moving to the right by a factor of 1 because I want to keep this line moving along the y-axis, and in order to do that, I have to compensate for it. So I have to make my x equal to positive 1 to make whatever's in these parentheses equal to 0. So that's number 1 and number 2. So what I want you to do for homework is 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 9, and 10 from this page. Some of them have 2 transformations, some of them have 3, and I think they all have more than 1. Most of them have 3. I don't see any. There is one with 4 transformations. So again, just let me know if you need any help with that. We're going to move on to this page here, which is called writing transformations or writing functions, and we'll do number 11. So I'll leave that on the board. I'm going to move this way so we can see this section of the board here. And so in number 11, I'm given the graph of an absolute value function. So I'll make this a little bit less steep. So my parent function here, so in A, my parent function is f of x, or well, you can write y. F of x equals the absolute value of x. That's my parent function. In B, it wants me to write the new equation for when I translate this 2 units to the right. So it wants me to move my point here, or my absolute minimum, or my extreme. It wants me to move 2 values to the right. So it would look something like this. And so how I would do that is I'd say f of x equals x minus 2 in my absolute value. That can function, or that can work as my parentheses in this certain situation. So in order to show a translation of 2 to the right, I would put x minus 2 in my absolute value bracket. In part C, it wants you to reflect in the x-axis and translate 5 units up. So I'm doing 2 things here. I need to reflect across the x-axis like this. So in order to do that, I have to make my y value, or I have to make this whole thing negative. So it would become negative x minus 2. And then in order to translate 5 units up, so 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, my point here would be here. My new function would look something like this. In order to do that, I have to add 5 to the entire problem, so I have to add a constant on the outside of this bracket. So it becomes f of x equals minus x minus 2 plus 5. And so this would be my final answer for this transformation. So I can go through just to check it. I can say, is it reflected down? Yes. Did I move 2 to the right? Yes. Did I move 5 up? Yes. So this would be my final answer for C. So for 12 and 14, you're going to identify the parent functions and then write the new equations in B and C for those transformations that they describe in words. And then what 15 and 16 want you to do is take that original function and then change it again. So 15 and 16 will be challenge problems. I hope that you guys can figure them out, and if you can't, just circle them and we'll go over them in class I think we have class on Tuesday. So let me know how it goes. I hope it goes well. You guys are going to do great. Remember, you don't have to do number 8 and number 13, but I'll put that on Canvas, and I'll see you after the weekend.